In a world of countless e-readers comes one that we just can't seem to put our finger on. Tolino. Thank you to Tolino for sending us this sample. Let us explain what we mean. This is an e-reader, 100% made by Kobo Rakuten, as it is an admitted fact by Tolino that they use Kobo shells to release their units. However, it comes with a caveat in that unlike a Kobo which can be used anywhere in the world, this can't. We've been blocked and stopped every step of the way, but let's look at it all the same. This is the Telino Vision Color, 7-inch HD Kaleido 3 color e-ink display, waterproof, Bluetooth audio, 32 gigs onboard storage, and the unit itself is made with 85% recycled plastic. The most defining feature of this entire unit is of course the stylus pen, which, no, cannot be cross-compatible or used with any other Wacom to any degree as it is entirely proprietary. With that, let's dive in to the Telino Vision Color. Looking at the unit, there's really only two differences between this and the Kobo variant, and that is the Telino logo on the front and the Telino logo on the back. I guess you could say the face here is different because it's part of the operating system that when it goes to sleep, it has a sleeping face. When it charges, it shows another face, etc. Everything else is exactly carbon copy. It is a stamped out shell, and you have the same backing, and everything is made out of recycled plastic, 85% approximately, and you can see that the buttons are still on the side. They're very nice. This thing leaves a ton of fingerprints. As you can see, we wash our hands in alcohol or fingertips every single shoot, and there's just tons of just natural fingerprint oils left on here. It doesn't really have enough texture to kind of mitigate that. It's just a very kind of flat, splotchy overall experience. This is the Telino stylus, as you can see right here. It says Telino stylus, but on the back it says Rakuten Kobo ink because it is entirely made by Kobo, but it has the Telino logo there. It's going to be the exact same thing as the Kobo pen in the regards that it has the USB-C charger there. It has an eraser at the back, has a secondary button, and the conical tips. You have to be careful because if you bend any of these things, it could affect you replacing the tips and the functionality of the unit itself. It's very easy to replace. You just squeeze it like that and you're done. The overall weight of everything is pretty nice. It feels good in the hand, although it is troublesome that you have to charge the pen. It's very Sony DPT in the regards where you have to pop off the back and charge with a micro USB. So we see things come full circle, and they wanted more of a proprietary approach, although I'm not sure why, because Wacom is very cheap and plentiful, although licensing itself can be pretty expensive right out of the gates. As we see on every Kaleido device, if you have the glow light off, it looks very, very dark. It doesn't look very good at all, and this is because Kaleido 3, whether you have a Kindle, whether you have an iReader, a high read, whatever, it's just going to be very dark. You have to have the glow light on to a certain degree, or else it's just not going to look good. You also have warm lighting, so you can go extreme candle or very blue. I like to float right in the middle, make it kind of white. Now, as we explained before several times in 6 of our other Telino videos, there are certain places on the screen you can't touch. We will highlight them right now. You cannot touch these regions. If you do, it will trigger the store, and if you go to the store, it will do an automatic factory reset, and you will lose a great deal of basically everything, all your updates, all your content, etc. So do not touch those zones. We're going to be very careful about not touching those zones. There is no top drop down. You have individual sections. So you have brightness, you have Wi-Fi, you have battery, you have synchronization, and you have search. Search brings up a non-conventional QWERTY keyboard. It is fairly responsive, although at times it does miss characters, but that's just neither here nor there. It's not a very spec powerhousey type of device. On the bottom you get home, my books, notebooks, and more. More is going to lead you over to some beta features. Beta features can be web browser and large print mode. That's it. Settings are going to have all your traditional settings. There's nothing too crazy about what all goes on in here. You do have accounts as well. You can sign into certain accounts, although we really can't show you a whole lot of that because again, they do block us out of certain regional restrictions, so we're kind of unable to show you a lot of what the Telino can do. Unfortunately, we're just restricted to just showing you the unit itself, which again, we understand it's not going to be that different than a Kobo, but we really wish we could show you the store, but we can't. So starting off with Manga, because these kind of smaller / mid-range size screens do kind of scream Manga reader. Now it is all side-loaded content, so it's not going to be formatted properly. It does come down to how you format it and the manga where you get from. So we just got this random one-piece manga and it doesn't seem to be formatted very well. But we do have some light features like pinch and zoom. We can go like that. You don't have the text box advancements or anything like that. Double tapping is just going to do an arbitrary amount of zoom. And if you tap the top, you get very limited settings like rotate and reading settings, so it's just going to be the headers and the footers and stuff like that. The colors are decent. It's really no different than any other Kaleido we've seen. They don't do anything particularly special on this unit. I will say that one of the saving graces they get is that it is a sunken screen in bezel, so there's less things in front of the screen, unlike some stuff like the color soft where it just gets very dull and dark because you get the whole glass panel on the top. So they do it a little bit better on a Kobo when it comes to the overall visuals, but outside of that, Kaleido 3 is no longer really a shock to us. We're not saying, oh wow, this is the latest thing. It is the latest thing, but it's been the latest thing on 27 units so far, so it's no longer new and fresh to the point where it wows us. In fact, it's been out so long we start to pick out the little inconsistencies, like the lack of saturation and lack of vividness. My notebook, you have a couple notebooks on here. You actually get two. You get the basic one, so basic. The overall latency it's fast, but it feels horrible because it's just this weird plasticky screen with a plasticky tip with no real character or flex or anything like that. It's just plastic on plastic. Is incredibly slippery. There's no realism whatsoever. And to be fair, some people don't want the realistic simulation of a graphite pencil on paper. That's fine. I personally don't like drawing on tablets, so this is horrible for me because it really just doesn't simulate the effects of paper. The eraser as well is just very plasticky. They don't do any effects to make it like rubber or put a little bit of texture or grittiness or anything on it. Just a little bit of perforation to give it some drag, give it some feel. It's very much to the point. It's utilitarian. You put your pencil on there, you do a line, and the line shows up. You have limited features, but we will get into the advanced notebook that has a ton of features in a second. So you can convert, copy, delete, resize. Deleting just gets rid of it altogether. At least it should have. There you go. You can draw on the page. You can choose the eraser. You can flip the pencil around and do an eraser, or you can press the side button. You have undo, redo, search, and you have a few things here like change the page background. You'll get a few backgrounds, not too many. We've seen some that give you 85 backgrounds, and devices like Fujitsu where you can purchase and download additional PDF background packs. So they give you enough to get by, but overall it is a very poor realism approach to writing, but it is very much just to the point. If you've watched our coverage of the advanced notebook, you will see that this is basically a pretty crazy and unconventional approach to note-taking. We're just going to skip over all that. You see, when you get in there, you're left with these lines, and you can't just draw anywhere you want. It won't let you. It'll say, try making your writing smaller. So you try to write it smaller, it says, try making it smaller. And you might be saying, well, what's going on? You got to write actually in between the lines. So you say, hello. And then it says it's okay. And when you double tap that, it should convert it. And there you go. It says hello. Furthermore, this is going to be what you live and die by, this drop down. You can insert a drawing, in which case it's going to isolate a zone. As you can see right here, you can scroll up and you still have your content there. And then you go down, this is going to be your drawing. So we're just going to do a placeholder and draw a guy there. Can you draw outside there into it? No, you cannot. It's not going to let you because you're crossing two elements and they don't like that. So then you go here and you insert a diagram. Inserting a diagram, you can do shapes and all sorts of stuff like a box and a line and a circle, and from there you can double tap it and it'll make it exactly that, and it'll clean it up. And again, you still have the stuff you wrote above. So you can interrupt this by saying some more text like that. I don't need to convert it this time because maybe I don't want to. So now I'm going to go here and then I'm going to do a math equation. This is where it gets crazy because you can do some crazy equations. You can say 2 times 4. This pen is not working very well for some reason. Divided by 8 times 300 equals, and then when you double tap, it's going to give you the answer. It's probably not right because of the way that the pen kind of found a few more vertices and drew some arbitrary lines that I did not draw, but for the most part, that is the appeal of this, is that you can do math equations and allow it to answer it correctly, granted if the pen works. Finally, free form selection. So it's going to give you this huge section here where you can just draw whatever you want and it won't limit you. From there, you can expand it, you can shorten it, you can stuff it together and change the aspect ratio. There's a ton you can do on the advanced notebook. And you have convert all, so any diagram or writing or math equation, it'll go through the whole thing and it will convert everything for you. You can also export the notebook, refresh the page, and adjust the line spacing. So if you go wide, that gives you a little bit more room in between each individual thing, so you don't have to write so darn small all the time. You have a little bit more space in between each one. And you can write anything, you can just do a single dot. But again, if you cross over into other elements, it's just simply going to say no each and every time. Finally, ebooks. I mean, it's an ebook reader. So you can swipe, you can tap, or you can use the page turn buttons, which I really like. I like these old e-readers, and I say old because the style of physical buttons dates back to a very long time ago when physical buttons were very prominent on ebook readers. It all started out that way with the Kindle keyboard, etc. But aside from that, this does have some cool features like being able to use the pen, because you have highlights, you have the actual pen itself, and you have the ability to erase. So again, it's not really groundbreaking. Stylus pens have been around forever. The Sony DPT from Sony S1, in fact, had the pen on the page. So I'm not belittling this. I mean, it's part of the industry and this is part of the dance. I'm just saying this isn't cutting edge technology. They don't do things like shaping or anything like that outside of the advanced notebook, in which case they do shaping when you can convert things, but here they just don't really allow you to do that. However, you do get all of the regular e-reader accoutrements, like the press in the middle brings up all of the information, the font size, you can do long presses, you can even go to advanced and change all of what you want it to look like before and after, and click apply or revert. So it's really, they do give you quite a bit of options compared to the average e-reader, but it really just does come down to how does it work as an e-reader. I mean, you just press the buttons up and down, left and right, and it can be used one-handed. It is just really all quite a joy to use, all things considered. And further to that, it works and it doesn't crash, and everything is so crisp and clear on it. Now, really the only downside is we don't have access to the stores, and that's most of the, you know what? No, I will scratch that. That's the entire reason we would do a Telino review, and the only reason we're showing you the vision and we're actually going to be skipping over the shine is that we have 100% confirmed that you just can't use it outside of Europe. So with that, this will be pretty much the last Telino coverage prospectively we're ever going to do until Telino really changes some things around and allows these units to become a little bit more internationally feasible. Otherwise, it's the end of an era, and this would be maybe a goodbye to the Telino brand on our news tech coverage. To us, Telino is, well, objectively useless. You have to sideload everything in, you have no access to any ecosystem, it's a carbon copy of a more usable and viable company, and you're literally one mistake click away on several portions of the screen to a full uncontrollable factory reset. Although we do appreciate Tolino for sending us these samples over the past decade, seriously, it just seems that they've retracted into themselves, offering flexibility and compatibility to a few select countries instead of an international presence, which would have instantly made this a viable choice. At the end of the day, there is no difference between this and a Kobo. It is a Kobo, just one you can't really use.